And now, CBS presents action, adventure, and excitement. Join your favorite stars and host Harrison Ford for the all-new AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills, next.
Go ahead. Make my day.
The American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Thrills. America's most heart-pounding movies with special guests Ann Archer, Linda Blair, Ernest Borgnine, Sandra Bullock, John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis, John Frankenheimer, Morgan Freeman, William Friedkin, Jerry Goldsmith, Tippi Hedren, Charlton Heston, Djimon Hounsou, Angelica Houston, Samuel L. Jackson, Dennis Leary, Janet Leigh, Lucy Liu, Sidney Lumet, Eva Marie Saint, Roy Scheider, Martin Scorsese, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ridley Scott, Steven Seagal, Steven Spielberg, Donald Sutherland, Jean-Claude Van Damme, M. Emmett Walsh, Carl Weathers, John Williams, Stan Winston, and many more. Now our host, Harrison Ford.
Good evening. About 100 years ago, a short film called Arrival of a Train at the Station played in Paris. It was simply a train arriving at a station. But remember, movies were a new phenomenon, and people had never seen anything like this before. So when the lights went down and the projector began to flicker, they saw, up on the wall, a train slowly chugging its way towards them. Well, they panicked, screaming, fainting, diving out of the way of that train. But when the mayhem subsided, they came back to see it again and again, and the movie thrill was born. Audiences are more sophisticated now, but still, what happens on that two-dimensional movie screen is often so real that it affects us on a visceral level. Our hearts pound. Tonight we're here on behalf of the American Film Institute to honor those films that leap off the screen, quicken our pulse, and all from the safety of our seat or the edge of it. To select these films, AFI gathered a jury of movie makers, historians, and critics from the film community and asked them to consider over 400 American feature-length films. The results are in, and tonight we're going to reveal them for the first time, from 100 to number 1. So take it from someone who knows about jumping out of the way of a train. Be alert and enjoy as we honor America's most heart-pounding movies.
Welcome to Sherwood, my lady.
The Adventures of Robin Hood was the ultimate, swashbuckling adventure. It was the first time, I think, in a movie I had really come to respect the sword as a wonderful excuse for action and adventure. It had you on the edge of your seat.
You've come to Nottingham once too often. When this is over, my friend, there'll be no need for me to come again.
There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do?
It had a simple premise and realistic situations, and I think that's what makes any thriller film like that plausible and good and watchable, is because you're invested in the real people.
Stay on or get off! Stay on or get off!
Hold on!
The thrill of speed is knowing that you cannot stop. And so when you're in a situation like that, when you're going towards a highway that's going to end, you really are at the edge of your seat because you don't know what's going to happen next.
I don't watch stunts. I feel like if I watch them, something's going to go terribly wrong. But I heard it went really well that day.
Blood Simple is an old mystery detective story. Kind of a curious little film by two boys that had never done a movie before, the Coen brothers. But this was their first film, and I happened to have been along for the ride. The bar owner's wife is cheating, so he hires a private detective to kill her.
Count it and go.
Nah, I trust you.
Safety Last is kind of a typical Harold Lloyd story. He has this notion of doing a human fly act. He won't be the human fly in his plan, but what happens is, of course, he has to go up the building on his own.
I've seen Safety Last with audiences that aren't necessarily accustomed to seeing silent movies, and they gasp out loud during that scene. You know it's not some process screen being projected behind him. You know it's not a double. You can see for yourself that's him hanging there.
Blue Velvet is perhaps the sickest and most disturbing film I've ever seen.
Mommy. Oh, Mommy. Mommy.
It's the one film that I can point to that creates the atmosphere of a screaming nightmare.
I will teach you. Now get up. Get on your feet.
This was the boot camp of all boot camps, and Lee Ermey did the most amazing job playing this drill instructor.
Shoulder. Private Pile, what are you trying to do to my beloved car? Sir, I don't know, sir. You are dumb, Private Pile, but do you expect me to believe that you don't know left from right? Sir, no, sir. Then you did that on purpose. You want to be different. Sir, no, sir.
He was demoralizing, you know, his troops, I guess, in an effort to break them down, tear them down, and then build them up again.
Do you mean to tell me that you cannot do one single pull-up? You are a worthless piece of shit, Pile. Get out of my face! Get up there, Snowball!
You always knew that there was something wrong with Private Pile. He was, to me, an explosion just waiting to happen.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts? Didn't Mommy and Daddy show you enough attention when you were a child?
The China Syndrome is, of course, about the meltdown of a nuclear power plant.
Okay, we're off the line. Disconnected from the grid. Ted, stabilize the reactor.
Right.
Despite its, for its day, very high-tech atmosphere and all that, it's a very simple thing. They're going to blow the place up, aren't they?
Everybody stay at your station. Let's get the water level under control. Everybody keep your Keep your station. DC backup power through the inverter to run those lights. Everybody move. Everybody stay at your station. Stay at your station, everybody. Stay at your station.
It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
Night of the Living Dead began a whole tradition of horror that's still with us.
You were barricaded into a house and people were trying to get into your home who only had one, desire, which was to devour you whole and alive. That was enough to, send me out of the room 4 or 5 times when I first saw it on television.
Coming up, America's most heart-pounding movies take you to Paris, the Scottish Highlands, and a courtroom in New York City. AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills, brought to you by Blockbuster. Enjoy your summer nights with Blockbuster, bringing entertainment home all summer long. By GMC, from professional-grade people come professional-grade trucks. And by the United States Postal Service, we deliver for you.
You're not too smart, are you? I like that in a man.
What else do you like? Lazy, ugly, horny? I got them all.
You don't look lazy. I love the way the characters talk to each other. I thought it created a sexual tension that was very dangerous.
The desire in that movie is so hot. He's completely unable to control himself. He wants her so badly.
That was a wonderful contemporary movie that had the feel of an old-fashioned, dark, sexual thriller. It had those kind of sultry characters and that lazy sort of verboten, taboo kind of sexuality to it that I thought made it really hot.
Braveheart is an incredible movie. When you're wrong the way that he was wrong, the way the people are wronged, you just want to see the good guys win. And he brought upon himself and the people this sort of incredible bravery.
Poseidon Adventure. It's a number of people that are on a ship bound for Europe. They get caught in this huge tidal wave. And the ship turns over. stunt people and brilliant special effects people did some marvelous work, such as letting the water loose onto that crowd of people that were still left down in the ballroom.
Two huge guns that stuck out of the side of this mountain. And this mission was to capture these guns so these ships could get through safely.
The first time they send this hoist down for shells or charges, this runner should come to here. And the moment it does, it'll hit these two wires and we get a circuit. A circuit that will send up all my plastic explosives here, plus this little item that I borrowed here.
If you can get any kind of device like that you're working up to when you deliver it, it makes your movie.
Fire!
What's the matter with you guys? You all know he's guilty. He's got to burn. You're letting him slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Because of the marvelous acting, one develops such a rooting interest in it that as the vote starts shifting...
Not guilty.
Your heart starts pounding to our great hero, Fonda. Come on, Hank. We want you to make it. Juror number 8, we want you to make it.
Take a look at this knife. It's a very unusual knife. I've never seen one like it. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to the boy. Aren't you asking us to accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm just saying a coincidence is possible.
And I say it's not possible.
That movie probably scared me more than any of the 1950 horror sci-fi films ever. This is about a large disc. I remember the great scene where the people, all the men formed a circle to show the outline of the disc under the ice. You went, oh my God, this is huge.
A Thing from Another World is a movie that I've loved since I first saw it when I was a kid. I don't know you get any better than the scene when they throw gasoline on him and set him on fire. What a sequence. See, nobody had ever seen anything like that.
If only the picture could change, and I could be always what I am now. For that, I would give everything. Yes, there's nothing in the whole world I would not give. I would give my soul for that.
The picture of Dorian Gray scares you because of its concept, about a man who seemingly possessed eternal youth. But meanwhile, there's a portrait that's getting older.
There was no doubt that the whole expression had altered.
Somehow, this painting is reflecting all of the evil that he was doing.
Almost doesn't require seeing the final painting. Of course, it's a big jolt when you do, and it was inserted in color in a black and white movie, which made the impact twice as strong.
I bid you welcome.
One of the striking things about Dracula is that there is virtually no music, and there's something about the silence that, if anything, enhances the terror or suspense.
I hope you will find this comfortable. Thanks. It looks very inviting. Ouch.
To me, the real power in that movie is Lugosi. You never really see Dracula do anything. You see him about to do things. You know what he's about to do. And imagining it is sometimes more powerful than seeing it.
Poltergeist was just meant to be a thrill ride film. I wasn't trying to be very subtle with it.
probably the scariest thing that you can do in a picture is put a child in danger.
The Phantom of the Opera has great mood and atmosphere. We still find it thrilling and terrifying that somewhere in the rafters of this gigantic building, there exists somebody who has a vengeance and will wreak that vengeance at the most inopportune time.
The Day the Earth Stood Still. Oh, that picture was brilliant. You hadn't seen anything like this before.
We have come to visit you in peace and with goodwill.
This was an extraordinary humanoid creature that looked just like us, but was far beyond us in thought and spirit and faith and technology. Then you have Robbie the Robot's father, Gort, with his little gelatinous eyeball that can pretty much, you know, emulsify anything that gets in its way.
The story was so, you know, wonderful. What a statement.
Your choice is simple. Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration. We shall be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.
Coming up, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the only movie sequel to make the list.
In the case of The Omen, the child is the devil. And I remember there was always this force going on. The music starting very softly, and all of a sudden you heard the voices coming in. So, uh-oh. So the music sort of set the whole thing up, built it up to the tear, and then the sound effects finished it. So there was a case where sound and music worked.
What the devil are you shouting about?
Rebecca was the first picture that my father made when we came to this country. He made it for David Selznick. In the picture, Mrs. Danvers, the housekeeper, doesn't like the young wife, Joan Fontaine.
Why don't you go? Why don't you leave Manderley? He doesn't need you. He's got his memories.
The Joan Fontaine character is really emotionally abused in this film.
You've nothing to live for, really, have you? Look down there. It's easy, isn't it? Why don't you? Why don't you? Go on. Go on. Don't be afraid.
Magnificent Seven. Elmer Bernstein made the classic Western theme. It was melodic and exciting. God only knows it's been ripped off enough by everybody else.
Magnificent Seven is based on the Seventh Samurai, except it's a whole bunch of cowboys. A seminal Western, maybe the seminal Western.
If I could only get inside that brain of yours and understand what makes you do these crazy, twisted things.
Gregory, are you trying to tell me I'm insane?
It's what I'm trying not to tell myself.
But that's what you think, isn't it? That's what you've been hinting and suggesting for months now.
Gaslight is a psychological thriller, and it was so scary because somebody is really making someone else think they're crazy.
Are you suggesting that this is a knife I hold in my hand? Have you gone mad, my husband? Or is it I who am mad? Yes, of course, that's it. I am mad.
You know that I'm a big, big, big fan of Jim Cameron. He loads up the action so much. It's always unique. You've never seen it before. The kind of stunts that you do, the kind of vehicles, helicopters, and all those things that you use. What is really interesting about this film is that another Terminator arrives, which is the T-1000, which is a more sophisticated model. I'm considered now in this one the old generation.
Hasta la vista, baby.
We think you have really bad manners.
Yeah, where did you get off behaving like that with women you don't even know?
Thelma and Louise, I love the scene which was retribution for the really bad behavior of the truck driver.
I don't think he's gonna apologize.
Nah, I don't think so.
It is a strong woman's picture, but you don't go chick flick.
Okay, then listen. Let's not get caught.
What are you talking about?
Let's keep going.
What do you mean?
Go! I was so invested in those two women that by the end, you really ask yourself, could I go this far?
Come on out. Come out, whoever you are. Step out in the light and let's have a look at you. Who's your boss?
Ja, zum Teufel nochmal, was ist denn da los? Sagen Sie, was fällt denn Ihnen überhaupt ein? Sind Sie deppert? Ja, Sie meine ich, schauen Sie nicht so blöd. Eine Frechheit ist das, mitten in der Nacht so einen Krawall zu machen.
Harry.
When you first see Harry Lime in the doorway, you know, it's one of the great moments of movie making. Is it a ghost story? Who is this man? Why is he smiling? It's fascinating. It's the dichotomy of what a human being really is. You know, the dark and the light side.
Is that you? You're through, Harry. Come out. You haven't got a chance this way. What do you want? You might as well give up. It's a monster. Get back. Get back. Keep back, sir. Come back. Hey, come back, sir.
Blade Runner is set in the future, 2019 in Los Angeles. And Harrison Ford is a retired cop whose job had been to track these simulated people that were basically robots. And they have to be found and destroyed because they can create all kinds of chaos.
Embarrassing.
No, sir, not embarrassing, because no one's ever going to find out they're down here. Because you're going to spot them and you're going to air them out.
At the time, I thought I was doing Philip Marlowe. And I thought I was doing a kind of fairly dark comic strip.
You better watch out, McPherson, or you'll end up in a psychiatric ward. I don't think they've ever had a patient who fell in love with a corpse.
Laura, Dana Andrews and Gene Tierney. About this woman that this guy goes to investigate her murder, and he falls in love with a dead woman who it turns out isn't dead.
Somebody was murdered in this room. Do you have any idea who it was?
All the possible suspects are gathered in one room, and the detective figuring out one by one who could have done it, who he's going to eliminate, and who he's going to arrest. And when he finally names the person, it's a surprise.
If you really want to understand what the Vietnam War was about, you should see this movie, because he didn't glamorize it. It told it like it was.
Good night, Mr. Bond. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
You know going in, James Bond's not going to die. So you'd think you wouldn't get wrapped up in these scenes. But you don't know how he's going to get out of these predicaments.
It's always good to see a guy with a tuxedo kick butt, you know, because he can do like, bah, 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 hey.
We'll be back.
DVD. See it. Buy it. Own it. Watch it once. Watch it twice. Spend hours watching extras beyond the movie and enter the world of stars and directors and the magic they make. Build a collection for the family. With over 9,000 movies to own, it's the most convenient way to watch a movie. DVD.
Nobody move! Get over there!
I don't know how well that picture could have worked without Pacino. He is capable of the most outrageous behavior, and you love him right through it.
Robbing a bank's a federal offense. They got me on kidnapping, armed robbery. They're gonna bury me, man. I don't want to talk to somebody who's trying to calm me. Get somebody in charge here.
I am in charge.
I don't want
here.
to talk to some flunky pig trying to calm me, man.
You don't have to be calling.
What's he doing?
Will you get back
what
over
are you
there?
moving in there for?
One of the great moments in movies, Attica. Totally created by Al and that mob spontaneously at the moment.
He wants to kill me so bad he can taste it.
I'm always going to kill you.
Attica! Attica!
Will you
Attica!
Attica, Attica, Attica. This wild character, this crazy character who believes so strongly in what he's doing.
Tell them to put their guns down!
All right, will you get them back? Will you
Put those guns down!
Get back!
Put those guns down!
Put those guns down!
The Wild Bunch is a story about the last of the Old West, the passing of an old era into the new era that was coming along. To me, it was a marvelous and wonderful picture because it was so real. It was gory, it was hellish, and it was blood to spare. That's Sam Peckinpah.
Excuse me,
Oh,
Laurie.
Mr. Brackett, I'm sorry, Mr. Brackett.
Oh, I didn't mean to startle you.
That's all right.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Yes, sir. Nice seeing you, sir.
Halloween began as a low-budget horror film about babysitters being stalked by this serial killer. Not a man with a backstory, but a force of evil.
Laurie Strode was everybody's daughter, was everybody's sister, and therefore, if you believed Laurie Strode existed, then when Michael Myers, the guy in the mask, comes in, you really are afraid for her. Mike Myers, he's the boogeyman, you know, he's this thing that you can't kill. My favorite shot in the movie is that next moment. People are going insane at that point.
Dug in California and Australia, all over the world practically. Yeah, I know what gold does to men's souls.
It's a film about greed. And for me, the most thrilling thing about Treasure of Sierra Madre as a small child when I was watching was the appearance of my father in the film. Only second to that, the appearance of my grandfather, who I never knew in real life.
You two thrown together against me. The 2 days I'd be gone would give you plenty of time to discover where my goods are, wouldn't it?
Got any fear along those lines? Why don't you take your goods along with you?
And run the risk of having them taken from me by bandits?
These guys are gonna go up there and find their wealth and their fortune and live happily ever after, but as human beings do, man, I'll tell you.
I'm gonna finish this right now. No more taking orders from you like I had to do today, get me?
Mean you're gonna murder me?
No, brother, not murder, no. Your mistake. I'm doing this to save my life, that you'd be taken from me the minute I wasn't looking at you.
Neo, no one has ever done anything like this.
That's why it's going to work.
The Matrix was one of the most astounding visual films that I've seen, maybe ever. I'm a huge fan of that movie from what it did to me viscerally and visually.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
Whoa. Man, it's an amazingly visual movie, and the first time probably we as a Western audience saw so much wire work where people were doing these fantastic moves, going 360 degrees. This device was such a wonderful device. That's a cool movie.
3.
The Major's men are on a spree.
4.
Major wants to go through the door.
5.
Bingley stays out in the dry.
The Dirty Dozen was the first North American film that I'd ever done. I was one of the bottom 6 of the dozen.
All right, forward! Remember, Jefferson, 20 seconds. Faster, faster. Come on, Jefferson, faster. Come on, Jefferson.
It was a film that Bob Aldrich was making to show that he didn't want to sweet-talk war. He just said, war's awful. It's horrible.
Touch of Evil is not a great film. It is unquestionably the greatest B-movie ever made. And it was a remarkable experience for me because it gave me the only chance I had in the end to work with Orson Welles.
Tell any story you want.
The shoebox was empty.
Go on saying it's empty. Folks will understand.
I'm saying more than that, Captain. You framed that boy.
Framed him!
It's some really interesting stuff, and I think my mom's stuff in that motel room is very creepy. That, to me, is real scary.
The minute Orson Welles becomes associated with any project, forget normal, forget ordinary. It's disturbing.
Hold her legs.
No, let me go! Don't touch me! Let me go! No!
Close the door.
Now, I wish that you would tell me. 'Cause I'm much too young to know.
I always felt that whatever happened to Baby Jane was one of the greatest haunted house movies ever made, you know, and Baby Jane was the ghost in the haunted house. Underneath all that is the tragedy of what happens to child actors.
I was just wondering who all those people were at the back door.
Wasn't anything. Just that nosy Mrs. Bates going on about your picture last night.
Oh, really? Did she like it? Oh, really? Did she like it?
It was a tremendous kind of a duel between these two sisters, and I thought that was a thrilling, thrilling picture. Spartacus was just a great film. You can't beat the fight between Kirk Douglas and Woody Strode, the first fight in the arena. And I think one of the most brilliant things that Kubrick did in that sequence was before they go out to fight, they're inside this wooden holding pen, and you hear the entire fight that precedes their battle. You just hear the sound effects. And you just play it off the expressions of Douglas and Woody Strode looking at each other and wondering, oh my God, we're gonna have to fight each other.
As a gladiator, it would be difficult to befriend someone and then have to go and kill them until you get into the ring and then you realize that it's either your life or his.
I thought Max Cady in Cape Fear, played by Robert Mitchum, was truly a monster. Because this person was intellectual. This person was to be feared because he was a smart villain.
I didn't spend 8 years in the can studying law for nothing. I've got a legal right to be examined by my own physician. Or didn't you boys know that?
There was something in the very sort of sleepiness of his eyes and the ease of his manner made him the more terrifying.
Say, she's getting to be almost as juicy as your wife, ain't she? You runt.
That movie, for me, to this day, remains one of the most frightening domestic horror films I've ever seen.
If you touch me, you'll go back to prison for life.
You want to make a little bet on that?
But you will. I'm not like Nancy. I'm not afraid to testify. I swear it. You've got to believe me. I'm not afraid.
And you're a lawyer's wife. Don't you understand?
You're ringside in 2 of America's most heart-pounding movies, next. AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills, brought to you by Cadillac, the fusion of design and technology. and by the joy of Pepsi.
This little boy can see and relate to dead people. And, I mean, as I mention that, I get the chills.
A lady. She died.
Oh, my God. But you can see her?
Yes.
Where is she?
Standing next to my window.
It was a movie that simply compelled you to watch. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on. The performances were just unbelievably well-modulated performances.
Oh, you're scaring me.
They scare me too sometimes.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
The human beings just lost total control, and the apes took over.
There are gorillas hunting humans. That's a staggering scene in the film.
Bridge on the River Kwai, starring the brilliant genius Alec Guinness. It's him against the world within the confines of that film.
Colonel Saito, have you a knife? I've just realized the bridge has been mined.
Mined?
Good boy.
Brilliant movie, wonderful movie. For me, that was a movie about determination.
It's not an anti-war or a war film. It has more to do with the madness of being at war.
All the President's Men was a very cerebral movie. It required the audience to listen to a lot of material, a lot of facts. It's very exciting.
These are the notes? Yeah, I got stuff on napkins, Maxwell, because I'm writing in the bathroom while she's getting the coffee. I'm a walking litter basket.
You're crazy. How am I gonna...
Well, you'd be crazy, too, if you were operating on 20 cups of coffee.
Well, could you give me something I can get down?
I got it all.
We become part of their process. You know, we feel their desperation.
She said L, P, and M. That's all she would give me are the people who worked under Mitchell. She said something about Mitchell. She hates him.
She said that?
Here, she said John Mitchell. If you guys could get John Mitchell, that would be beautiful.
Meticulously well-made and well thought out, and it played like a thriller.
Bernstein got another source.
The guy just is confirmed.
If there's any doubt, we can run it tomorrow. You don't have to. The story's solid. We're sure of it.
He's just got off the phone and it's gold.
Okay, we go with it.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Frankenstein scared me to death. I couldn't get to sleep for nights and nights. It was terrifying, especially to a 10-year-old kid.
When Frankenstein came out, it was a classic horror movie, not a B movie. It was a beautifully done movie.
Fire department, please, can you... There's something burning and I'm blind and I can't locate it. It's getting worse.
Audrey Hepburn was awfully good in Wait Until Dark. I mean, how can you be any more vulnerable than she is in that situation?
Are you gonna give me that doll, Susie?
I can't.
I don't believe you, Susie.
it anymore.
It's so simple. It's scary to be in the dark.
Don't touch that!
There's a nice turnaround in the movie. Once she gets the lights off, these guys are in her position, but they're less experienced.
I have your knife, Mr. Roth.
And I've got the matches, Mrs. Hendricks.
No. 10 minutes in, I was rooting for these guys and, again, totally sucked into the movie.
Think you used enough dynamite there, Butch?
There's a kind of hipness about that movie. And if you go back to it now, the hipness has not staled. I mean, those are characters who are not just acting hip. They really are hip.
Whatever they're selling, I don't want it.
One of the great scenes is when they're being chased and they finally come to the edge of this cliff and they look down and there's a river like 7 miles away down in the bottom of this gorge. And they have no option. Paul Newman says, you know, we got to jump.
I'll jump first.
Nope.
Then you jump first.
No, I said.
What's the matter with you?
I can't swim.
Can't swim, you know, which is probably one of the first times in tough guy Western movie history that a guy had to admit something like that.
Pulp Fiction had a particular kind of feeling and a particular kind of energy that came from the actors, that came from the director.
They had a high-five phone, oh boy, did they let it blast.
It was over the top, and you wanted it to be over the top because the whole movie had that element to it where, oh, he's not really going to go there, or they're not really going to do that. Oh, my God, they are going to do that. Oh, I don't think I can watch that.
You're giving her an injection of adrenaline straight to her heart, but she's got a breastplate. You got to pierce through that. So what you got to do is you got to bring the needle down in a stabbing motion.
Uma Thurman ODs, and then he pumps that needle into her heart. I couldn't look.
So many people have come up to me in 25 years now and said, the movie changed my life. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. Apollo Creed was treating this guy as the novice that Rocky is in comparison to his greatness.
Is he talking to me?
He's talking to you.
Is he talking to me?
Let him talk to me. Talk.
Rocky is the best underdog movie ever made.
All he wanted was a chance to go to the distance, to prove himself, and he got the chance and proved himself. Rocky does say, I may not win, but I'm going to go the distance. But in fact, going the distance is a big win.
I poured a lot of myself into that character, how I saw myself behaving up to that point in my life. De Niro saw, I think, a lot of himself in that character, too. And we both liked him. We both knew what he was going through.
I think Raging Bull is Marty's masterpiece. The fights were brilliant. Oh, my God, those were brutal. But I got to tell you, I think that, you know, the life outside the ring was actually more brutal than the punches exchanged inside.
Right. Peace around here, Joe. Just relax.
We're all feel like you look, and I'm all like, oh, God!
My wife, I'll kill you!
Next, one of the most beloved family films makes the list of America's most heart-pounding movies.
Well, we're halfway home. And looking back, we've seen that a search for the truth can be as heart-pounding as those things that go bump in the night. But we do love the monsters. From outer space, from the house next door, and occasionally, the monsters inside us. With all these things lurking in the dark of the theater, next time you go to the movies, don't you have to ask yourself, is it safe?
Is it safe? Please stop.
You say Marathon Man, I think dentistry. The idea of somebody attacking you by drilling your teeth.
Should take better care of your teeth. You have quite a cavity here. Is it safe?
Look, I tell you, I can't do it.
Olivier's marvelous in that thing, and so is Dustin Hoffman. There is a kind of ordinariness to his evil in that sequence that's kind of wonderful.
A live, freshly cut nerve is infinitely more sensitive.
So, I'll just drill into a healthy tooth until I reach the pulp. Unless, of course, you can tell me that it's safe.
The chariot race, which is, I suppose, generally conceded to be the best action sequence ever filmed. And I was there in Rome, at least a month before we were starting shooting, so I could learn to handle a chariot. I was perfectly confident so that I was not going to be in any danger, and I was not going to have to jump over that wreck, of course. We had about 1,000 extras for 3 or 4 days of that shoot. It worked out very well. It's a great sequence.
In Dial M for Murder, my father plans it very carefully. He sets everything up so that everything is going to work perfectly.
Hello? Hello?
Alfred Hitchcock was a master in creating the ultimate suspense. The tricks that he used, letting the audience in, but not the characters yet, so the audience can feel right along with it.
Hello? Hello?
And then bang, they close the deal.
The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a great film. I love that movie. Love it.
Listen, those people that are coming after me, they're not human. Listen to me, we're in danger. Get out of the street. Danger. Go on, get out of here.
Kevin McCarthy's performance is for the ages. I think it's a wonderful performance. At the end, when he's standing in the middle of the highway and screaming and the cars are going by, that's heart-pounding.
Look! You fools!
hasn't felt like an outsider at one time or another, and that's the key to Carrie.
Hit it to Carrie! She'll blow it! Don't blow it, Carrie! Hit it! Oh! Carrie!
The idea of a teenage girl who never fits in is irresistible, and you don't have to be a teenager to relate to that. Brian De Palma's father was a surgeon, so he saw a lot of blood. He sure poured it on in that film.
It's a wonderful revenge of that movie, where she just turns it around on those people. It is just fabulous. It's a fabulous movie.
I wanted to make a film about World War II for many years, but I just couldn't find the right material until Robert Rodat wrote Private Ryan, and I read the script and said, this is the right piece of material.
That battle scene, Omaha Beach, could have been scored with music. Steven Spielberg chose not to and used only the horrific sounds of the World War II machine guns and the rifles. When the battle was over, the camera started to pan along the beach where the bodies of these boys were all lying, and the orchestra begins to play then.
E.T. The most thrilling sequence to me is the first time Elliot flies on his bicycle with E.T. across the moon. And that was a childhood fantasy come true.
You're just at the edge of your seat watching this, and you're thinking, yes, you know, go up into the moon.
The music and the film were so beautifully wedded, rhythmically speaking. It gave the end of the film a kind of operatic lift, if you like.
I'll be right here. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Here's how I think The Wizard of Oz functions. It is the movie that perhaps introduces quite young children to the notion that movies can be scary.
Take special care of those ruby zippers. I want those most of all. Now fly! Fly!
It's so simple. What it frightens you with, it doesn't need the blood and the gore. These monkeys coming at you with their wings and their blue faces was one of the most frightening things that I'd ever experienced.
I'll be back. The Terminator. It is something that cannot be stopped, that has no feelings, that can feel no pain, that is extremely powerful, feels no remorse or anything. If you look at Jim Cameron's work, in all of his movies, women are very, very strong.
Move it, Reese! Oh! On your feet, soldier! On your feet!
I think that it is probably the most exhausting creature chase scene ever filmed to that date.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Dirty Harry was such a man of the people. He was such a statuesque sort of a do the right thing kind of a guy.
Now, what the hell is he doing up there? What the hell are you doing, bastard VW? Yes, it was you!
That was the beginning of a great genre of action films. To this day, people can go back to films like that, see great storytelling and great action.
'Pulses race, cars chase, journeys through space. Up next.
In 2001 was so revolutionary because when we first saw it in 1968, it screeched the speed of the 20th century to a complete halt. And then we go into another time and place. Has to do with the mystery of life, the rebirth at the end. It's a very religious film, I think, a very spiritual film.
I think the reason Die Hard worked so well is that Bruce Willis's character didn't set out to be heroic. He's not a superhero. He's a real guy.
He's a hero, saving a tower of people. I love that shot of the pushing chair.
Notorious is a great movie. There's one great suspense sequence, and that's, you know, they're down there in the wine cellar, and Claude Rains is upstairs with his party. It's a very intricately built and wonderfully acted movie. And to my taste, it's Hitchcock's best movie.
Someone is coming. It's Alex. He's seen us.
Wait a minute. I'm going to kiss you.
No, he'll only think we...
What
no.
I want him to think.
Arrêtez, je vous en prie. Je vous en prie, arrêtez.
I don't like disturbances in my place. You either lay off politics or get out.
That film had everything, but the most chilling, suspenseful, exciting, and thrilling moment for me in that picture is when the German national anthem is sung by the Germans on one side and the French answer it singing La Marseillaise on the other. And that counterpoint, and the Germans who were being drowned out by the French. And the one French girl who was crying when she was singing. It is one of the most electrifying scenes of any film in the 1940s.
Steve McQueen, Bullet, brilliant movie, the best damn car chase ever made.
There's a great action scene that takes place in San Francisco. There's nothing special about these cars, but it's fantastic. Steve McQueen's character in the movie, much like Braveheart, much like Gladiator, you know, he is his own gladiator in his own time.
Jurassic Park is Michael Crichton's invention. You know, in a million years, I never would have dreamed to make a movie about DNA and dinosaurs.
We truly saw dinosaurs that we believed were alive. Those kids are in the car. That T-Rex comes down and breaks through the top of the car. They're there. Big, heavy, 9-ton machine that if something broke, well, dead people.
In making horror personal, you need the familiar. So I set the raptor sequence in a kitchen. The little girl uses the reflective surfaces of all the cabinetry to save her own life. She climbs into a cabinet, and the raptor thinks that he's going to get an easy bite, and he goes headlong into a cabinet, hitting her reflection, thinking it's her. So then we have a kind of chess game going. Aha, the humans outsmarted the animals. Now it's their turn to outsmart the humans.
Night of the Hunter scared me as a child. I think it's one of the scariest films ever made. It has a character played by Mitchum who is a preacher, supposedly a man of God.
The Lord's a-talking to me now. He's a-saying, a liar is an abomination before mine eyes. Speak, boy, where's it hid? Speak. Speak, or I'll cut your throat and leave you to drip like a hog hung up in butchering time.
He's pursuing these young children through the forest because he thinks they know where their daddy's fortune is buried.
Mitchum is fabulous in that. Well, he's fabulous in any movie.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
I loved Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. I love The Fugitive. He's the perfect hero for that kind of movie.
He's been followed by Tommy Lee Jones's Cop, who is absolutely intent on staying with him.
What I want out of each and every one of you is a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, hen house, outhouse, or doghouse in that area.
The thrilling moment when in the storm drain, Tommy Lee shows up at the other end.
Richard, do you want to get shot? Pay attention! Get out on your knees! Right now!
Strangers on a Train is a great psychological horror film. Hitchcock had this habit of taking rather outrageous concepts and making them seem as though they were going to happen to anybody at any point in their lives.
Swap murders.
Each fellow does the other fellow's murder, then there's nothing to connect them. Each one has murdered a total stranger.
Robert Walker's performance in that is extraordinary. He is a precursor of the Hannibal Lecter character. He is without any makeup, without a mask, and he's a truly frightening figure because he is so committed to this evil idea that you believe that he will do it.
Is your name Merian?
Oh, yes. How did you...
Well, I've always believed it's what you don't see that really scares you the most. And I thought in Close Encounters, not seeing the aliens, I wasn't trying to scare anybody, but by holding them back, introduced a mystery.
With Close Encounters, Spielberg said to me that the signal should be 5 notes. And I wrote about 300, very quickly, 300 examples of 5 notes. So finally we said, well, we'll settle on the one that goes. That dom is the 5th note of the scale, which in musical terms creates an expectancy that something else is going to happen.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind is just one of 16 films that unites director Steven Spielberg with composer John Williams. Many of these films are on AFI's list tonight. And then there's Alfred Hitchcock, who worked with editor George Tomasini on 9 films, costume designer Edith Head on 11 films, and cinematographer Robert Burks on 12 films. You see, behind the talented filmmakers whose names we know, there are trusted colleagues who helped to bring the vision of a director, a writer, and a producer to the screen. Tonight, AFI not only honors America's most heart-pounding movies, but the creative and technical teams who work together to make our pulses race. So next time you go to the movies, avoid the crush in the aisles and watch the credits. You'll be reminded that film is the ultimate collaborative art. And when it all comes together, it is, in a word, thrilling.
AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills, brought to you by Chevrolet. If only everything was as dependable as a Chevy, Chevy, we'll be there. And by MoviePhone, movies, showtimes, even tickets.
Angela and Stephen don't spill a drop. It's good luck for the rest of your life. Hey, Donna. Hey, Donna.
When I think of The Deer Hunter, I remember the wedding scene. I remember the camaraderie and the sense of community about their town where they grew up in and each other, but also believing in Vietnam.
Here's Johnny.
The Shining really terrified me, but it was one of those things that wasn't Jack-in-the-Box terror, meaning, you know, closet doors didn't have to open with hands coming out and grabbing you from behind. The entire film of The Shining is an escalator ride.
Come play with us, Daddy.
But that's like a plateau. You get back on the escalator of that movie, and you go to the next level. And every level is more frightening and more claustrophobic than the one before. Shelley Duvall comes upon this novel Jack Nicholson's been writing, wherein you read, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, written over and over and over again in different patterns. Kubrick simply used the point of view shot to wander out from behind a pillar to show her back, that she's vulnerable as she's reading. Kubrick avoided what could have been the biggest scream in the movie. He could have simply had Jack Nicholson in a low angle appear over her shoulder, and he would have had popcorn stuck to the ceiling of every movie theater in America.
How do you like it?
It was a brilliant turn of the cliche, and it still made people jump.
Wendy, give me the bag. Give me the bag.
Where's your wife?
Where's my wife?
Fatal Attraction. It's all about ethics, isn't it? First of all, every man should know that when a woman sleeps with a man and he tells her it's nothing more than that she still hopes it is. And that's one thing, if you learn that about women, you'll have less trouble in your life. Darling, this is Alex. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your last name.
Alex Forrest.
Alex Forrest. This is my husband, Dan.
Hi. Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I think Alex is emotionally unstable, and then that takes us on quite a journey. The scene where I walk in the kitchen was one of the more horrific parts of the movie. Just a mastery of direction and editing, because you see me entering the kitchen and it's cutting back and forth with our daughter Ellen running to see her baby rabbit.
Daddy!
What?
Now we know she's completely nuts.
I have to credit George Lucas with the idea that the music of Star Wars should be sort of familiar. So the creatures are humanized by the music, and the odd landscapes of the other planets are made familiar by the language of the music. So we get a kind of orientation from the music that the visual disorientation doesn't provide.
I have the death sentence on 12 systems.
I'll be careful.
You'll be dead. This little one's not worth the effort. Come, let me get you something.
Star Wars was the most incredible cinematic experience I'd had. All of a sudden, I was in the new frontier. Space was going to be the new, pirate movie.
Look out!
It was going to be the new cowboy movie. it was going to be the new war movie.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home. Stand by. Stand by.
Oh, after 17 years.
The Maltese Falcon is an extraordinary film to watch. Like so many of my father's films, character was always the emphasis.
Fake. It's a phony. It's lead. It's lead. It's a fake.
All right, you've had your little joke. Now tell us about it.
No, Sam, no! That's the one I got from Kevinoff, I swear it.
It's you who bungled it. You and your stupid attempt to buy it. Kevinoff found out how valuable it was. No wonder we had such an easy time stealing it. You imbecile, you bloated idiot.
It's just that wonderful union of writer, director, cameraman, actors. For me, the whole movie is thrilling.
What is it?
The stuff that dreams are made of.
Up next, Singing in the Rain, but not the movie you're thinking of.
Thank you.
Even though we all knew the outcome, to see it, I think everybody felt that they were part of it, that they were really there.
There was this one scene that was really extraordinary, where the ship's...
Never did. Not even when he gets drunk and slaps my face.
Only sometimes you wish he was dead.
Perhaps I do.
And you wish it was an accident. And you had that policy for $50,000. Is that it?
Perhaps that too.
Double Indemnity, it's about a murder plot and revenge and lust and love and all that stuff. And you don't think there's any way they're really going to be able to pull this off, but you're kind of, in a strange way, rooting for them.
What are you doing that for? What are you honking the horn for?
You're entranced by the possibility of evil.
You got me to take care of your husband for you. And then you get Zacchetti to take care of Lola. Maybe take care of me, too. Then somebody else would have come along to take care of Zacchetti for you. That's the way you operate, isn't it, baby?
Suppose it is. Is what you've got cooked up for tonight any better?
I don't like that music anymore. Mind if I close the window? Better than that, can't you, baby?
So long as the Arabs fight tribe against tribe, so long will they be a little people, a silly people, greedy, barbarous, and cruel, as you are.
Lawrence of Arabia is a thrilling movie. Thrilling not in the way of scares or spills and chills, but thrilling because of the emotional rush that you get from some of the great scenes that David Lean stages.
You sense Lawrence's feeling that he has pulled together this disparate band of Bedouins and made them into a fighting force. You feel his sense of triumph. And then there's that business of him beginning to feel the power of his own personality.
Travis, of course, comes from Paul Schrader. He wrote Taxi Driver in 2 weeks. I think he wrote it with a gun on the table.
Loneliness has followed me my whole life, everywhere. In bars and cars, sidewalks, stores, everywhere. There's no escape.
It's the fear of the truth, you know, about what humanity is and what life is like, and wanting to correct it constantly. That'll show them.
Talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking to? Talking to me?
Robert De Niro takes this character and he just transformed him into somebody that was so frightening that you couldn't turn away.
I'll kill you! 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 I'll kill
What Scorsese and De Niro did in it was so defining. There's nothing more to say about it. Kubrick, who directed Clockwork Orange, makes the hero, Alex, a sort of anti-hero. I chose to play him with a joie de vivre. He loved life. That's very infectious. Anybody that loves life loves to get up, even though they may be getting up to beat and maim.
Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Go! I'm with the rain. I've a smile on my face.
If a composer had said, all right, here, you know, write a score to this, I would have been hard-pressed to figure out what to do. This sort of light-hearted, frivolous music playing against this sort of decadence. I think it worked.
For now it was lovely music that came to my aid. There was a window open with a stereo on, and I biddied right at once what to do.
I've always been drawn to parts with edge. I'm not personally such a good reactor. I think heroes are mainly reactors. They don't drive the story so much as react to it. They're all very difficult parts to play. Gary Cooper was a great hero.
Maybe some of you already know it, but if you don't, it looks like Frank Miller's coming back on the noon train.
Gary Cooper is going to have a showdown at high noon. What creates suspense? What creates tension? Well, one of the things is a time element. You feel the tension build as it must be building inside him.
Cool. Strong jaw, lean, quiet, dependable. Wasn't infallible, but he never failed.
I'll come out. Let her go. As soon as you walk through that door. Come on, I'll hold my fire.
There will be no escapes from this camp.
Colonel von Luger, it is the sworn duty of all officers to try to escape.
The Great Escape. Great film. I love to escape.
You go.
You have all those macho guys teaming together. And then they made it. Then they all go to their direction, so you hope they're all gonna make it.
Hey! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
There's an inherent suspensefulness in Steve McQueen's nature, perhaps, certainly his screen persona, that works very well in this movie. There's something slightly sullen and withdrawn about him. And you always wonder where that sullenness is going to take him. he can't get out. You know, he's one blind alley after another.
Right there, my father established that Jimmy Stewart is petrified of heights.
Give me your hand.
After Jimmy Stewart has been thrown off the force, he is called by an old friend of his who wants him to follow his wife.
The tower of where we lose our balance altogether, and Bernard Herrmann does his wonderful, almost nauseating swirl to the music. It whips you around and around until finally you do lose your inner ear balance. You experience vertigo.
Coming up, the movie scene that Steven Spielberg says can't be beat for suspense.
Allow me to introduce our American visitors. I must ask you to forgive their somewhat lackadaisical manners, but I have conditioned them, or brainwashed them, which I understand is the new American word.
There is no doubt about the fact that a lot of brainwashing happened in Korea and in Manchuria, and there was real fear. And I tried to get that into the movie.
Shoot Bobby Raymond. Through the forehead.
Yes, ma'am.
Stepping on some very sensitive toes. And you're taking a lot of institutions and just crushing them.
I give you the next president of the United States, Benjamin K.
The movie disturbs a lot of people. They are deeply jolted by it.
It's all about the water, both literally and metaphorically. And that's what Robert Towne, the screenwriter, started with, was this fascinating true story about bringing the water to Los Angeles and the corruption that bred.
Hello, Claude. Where'd you get the midget? You're a very nosy fellow, kitty cat, huh? You know what happens to nosy fellows? Huh? No? Wanna guess? Huh? No? Okay. They lose their noses.
Chinatown.
I think it's really in the style of my father's movies.
Either you bring the water to L.A. or you bring L.A. to the water.
How are you going to do that?
By incorporating the valley into the city. Simple as that.
My father's character was the evil and tormenting, but also tormented Noel Cross.
See, Mr. Gitz, most people never have to face the fact that at the right time and the right place, they're capable of anything.
I remember Ronnie Cox in Deliverance. When he played the music with that boy. You're outdoors, you're going down the river, and everyone's having a good time.
Keep her headed right.
It's almost like a travelogue, and you wish you were there. And wouldn't that be fun?
Go! Go, go, go! 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 Go!
You just didn't want anything bad to happen to those people.
Boy, you are lost, ain't you?
Well, hell, I guess this river comes out somewhere, don't it? That's where we're going. Somewhere. Look, we don't want any trouble here.
The tension built, and you don't know what is going to happen.
Now let's you just drop them pants.
Drop?
Just take them right off.
And those men were just so strange. You really forgot they were actors.
He got a little pretty mouth, ain't he? That's the truth. You're going to do some praying for me, boy. And you better pray good. Here, hold that on.
Oh!
Rear window. Most normal people were voyeuristic. So that movie was a voyeur's paradise. This guy who had a broken leg, Jimmy Stewart, is stuck in a room, and he gets himself in a lot of trouble by snooping out of sheer boredom. That maybe is one of Hitchcock's most suspenseful pictures of all the work he ever did. One of the most suspenseful sequences is when Grace Kelly decides to go over there and investigate on her own while Mr. Thornton has gone out for a few minutes. You got Thelma Ritter and you've got Jimmy Stewart not being able to cry out.
Lisa! Lisa!
Because he's coming home and she's stuck in his apartment. I mean, nothing beats that for suspense. You have her being caught.
Look, the wedding ring.
And now it's just a matter of time before he comes over there.
Good afternoon. This is the Barrow Gang. Now, if everybody will just take it easy, nobody will get hurt.
I love the movie Bonnie and Clyde. They were so screwed up, and how could two people so beautiful be so screwed up and have such strange morals?
Is that your money or the bank's?
Mine.
All right. You keep it then. Next time I'll aim a little lower.
I think there are very few people who watch that film that wouldn't want to be a member of the Clyde Barrow gang at one time or another, because they have so much fun doing awful things.
King Kong, I've probably seen 400 times. If there was one movie that inspired me to do and be what I am today, it's King Kong.
I fell in love with King Kong. I think it was one of the first films
that brought that kind of emotion towards animals.
It has one of the earliest thriller scores and one of the best ones, really, done by Max Steiner.
Nice college boy, huh? Didn't want to get mixed up in the family business? Huh? Now you want to gun down a police captain, why? Because he slapped you in the face a little bit? Huh? What do you think, this is the army where you shoot him a mile away? You got to get up close like this, and bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
There's a lot of great stuff in The Godfather. The thing that really, really is, to me, still amazing to this day is the character of Michael.
I have to go to the bathroom. Is that all right?
You gotta go, you gotta go.
Your morality, quote unquote, alters when you live that way.
I frisked him. He's clean. Don't take too long.
It's not good and bad, you see. There's shades of gray constantly.
Everything is in his eyes. It's one of the most subtle performances ever given in cinema history. You know, it's all control.
AFI's Top 10, the most thrilling movies of all time. Next. AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills, brought to you by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer.
And then there were 10. These are the movies that grabbed the world's imagination and haven't let go. Stories of ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. In a world that isn't right, they're on a mission to make it so. And I know what I'm talking about.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, for me, was like recreating a Saturday matinee. It was a cliffhanger. The most memorable thing about Raiders was just the making of Raiders. I had a great time working with Harrison Ford for the first time, Karen Allen.
Wait. I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
Let her go.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was a wonderful opportunity for action music and music with a sort of rhythmic drive, and the hero's tune, dum-ba-da-bum, bum-ba-dum, this kind of swagger as he runs and jumps on his horse and does all of his athletic tricks.
When I made Raiders of the Lost Ark, I storyboarded every single sequence. So the entire truck chase was just basically following the storyboards. Every single shot in that movie was done with me and a sketch artist sitting together and just doodling and trying to form a sequence that would be exciting and make sense. The suspense scenes, it's all much more paint by the numbers. It's much more intellectual. The passion comes when you start to cut it together and it starts to work as well as you thought it would. But it's a lot of science. So when we say that our industry is about art and science, well, Thrills and Chills is more science than art, I promise you.
You'd better have your legs
convulsions. Yes, I suppose so.
There's that woefully overused expression, pushing the envelope. But believe me, Rosemary's Baby pushed that envelope, and it pushed it far in the late 60s. Remember, the production code had just dissolved in the late 60s, and so filmmakers were really feeling their oats, trying new things in terms of violence, in terms of sexuality.
This is no dream. This is really happening.
Where the power of that film is that for the bulk of it, you really believe that Mia Farrow is, you know, really just having this paranoia.
One thing is for sure, they have a coven and they want my baby.
Certainly seems that way.
Okay, she's safe. And then there's a couple of beats, and in comes the evil doctor.
We don't want to hurt you, Ro.
We're your friends, Rosemary.
There's nothing to be afraid of, Rosemary. Honest and truly, there isn't.
There's nothing but a mild sedative to calm you down.
You know, I wouldn't let anyone... Oh.
Ro!
Help me!
Oh, Ro, baby.
Somebody help me!
All right, let's sing a little song. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle all the way.
The French Connection. It wasn't the Wild Wild West. It's now the Wild Wild City. The heroes have a certain vigilante aspect to them that the audiences will accept.
Hold it! Freeze! Jimmy, watch it. He's got a knife. Cloudy, watch it. Ah! Hold him up!
It's two guys that respect each other, two guys that are totally dependent upon each other, two guys that cover each other's ass.
Now, I'm gonna bust your ass for those 3 bags, and I'm gonna nail you for picking your feet in Poughkeepsie.
The film is about the thin line between the policeman and the criminal. We had largely hyped the picture to 20th Century Fox and talked about an exciting chase.
Police emergency, I need your car.
But we didn't know what it was going to be. This can't be 2 cars chasing each other. You know, that was Bullet. What about an elevated train?
Don't stop. Stop, or I kill you.
The chase is a metaphor for this cop, his obsession with the case. He would stop at nothing to break this case, even endanger innocent people, if that's what it took.
I had just moved to California, and I received a call saying that a producer wants to see you, is interested. I met with an agent named Herman Citron, and it was he who said, Alfred Hitchcock wants to sign you to a contract. So I signed the contract without even having met him. And he said, we want you to play Melanie Daniels in The Birds. I love the way Hitch could bring about suspense. And very often, the way he would do that was to let the audience in on more than the actors know. You know, the audience is saying, oh, God, get out of there, get out of there. You know, this is something really terrible is going to happen. And of course, you know, this is one of the prime examples of building up suspense. After everything has quieted down and everybody in the living room has kind of fallen asleep, I hear a noise up in the upstairs bedroom. And I said to Hitch, come on now, I'm not necessarily a method actress, but knowing all of the things that have happened, why would she go upstairs all by herself? I need a motivation for this. And he said, because I tell you to.
Coming up, Linda Blair reenacts a favorite movie thrill.
Alien, in effect, is a B movie, which, to be politically incorrect, 7 little Indians who all get, you know, gradually meet their demise.
It's the levels of calm and terror that Ridley Scott takes us through in Alien that allows us to be terrified.
What's the matter? The food ain't that bad, baby.
What's wrong? Suddenly, John has a little bit of a convulsion. It's
Oh, God! And then off it went. I mean, that was the last thing that you expected to see.
I loved Sigourney Weaver's role in Alien because we never get to see a female character in that kind of a movie who's not a victim.
She was strong. She was angry. She was determined to win.
May I see your credentials?
Certainly.
Silence of the Lambs is definitely a psychological thriller. It unravels your brain.
Closer, please. Closer.
This Hannibal Lecter character, he's very specific about what he eats and what he puts in his mouth.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
When it's unpredictable is when it's interesting. And that's what's so wonderful about Hannibal Lecter's character. He's completely unpredictable.
Okay.
You know the atrocities that he's done. But he is extremely charming.
Mind the drawings, please.
Thank you. The concept of cannibalism is so foreign to most of us. The idea that this man could actually do that creates a tension right away, because what's he going to do? When's he going to do it? Is he going to make a move? Is he going to try to make a move?
Jimmy, watch it. He's got Do you know this man?
It's about an innocent man, played by Cary Grant, who is mistaken for a spy, and all the things that he does to try and correct this impression.
He went that way. I think he got off.
All aboard!
That's the fun of acting. I mean, I'm not a sexy spy lady, but it'd be fun to be one for a while, especially with Cary Grant.
Think how lucky I am to have been seated here.
Well, luck had nothing to do with it.
Fate?
I tipped the steward $5 to seat you here if you should come in.
Where is North by Northwest? Do you know where that is? Who cares? I don't know how many minutes that is without anything happening on screen. Hitch always said that it isn't when it happens that you're scared. It's that suspense. What is going to happen?
I think Hitchcock liked to torment Cary Grant. He was always putting him in situations where Cary Grant couldn't quite
smooth his way out of things with his, you know, patented charm. And Hitchcock was always pushing him into, you know, slightly more desperate realms.
When we come back, AFI's top 3 most heart-pounding movies of all time. AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills, brought to you by GMC. From professional-grade people come professional-grade trucks. By Colgate Total Plus Whitening, the same 12-hour protection as Colgate Total, only whiter. And by DVD, with over 9,000 titles to choose from, nothing is more convenient to own DVD.
Linda Blair sits down in my office, 12 years old, straight-A student, and I said, do you know what this story is about, The Exorcist? She said, oh, yeah, it's about a little girl who gets possessed by the devil, and she does a whole bunch of bad things.
Hey, where'd this come from? I found it. Where? Closet.
I believe the first time that the audience knows that something is a little out of the ordinary is when Reagan is playing with the Ouija board.
Wait a minute, you need to. No, you don't. I do it all the time.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's both play. You really don't want me to play, huh?
No, I do. Captain Howdy said no.
Captain Howdy is Reagan's friend, which her mother assumes because she's lonely that she has brought in, you know, an invisible friend. But of course, to Reagan, Captain Howdy is something much more.
It's a familial element that you're invested in again. The heart of the picture is this family that's being torn apart.
It just so happens that somebody very close to me is probably possessed and needs an exorcist. Father Karras is my little girl.
It's that eye for what's real. How do you convince an audience these aren't actors, this is really happening? And then on top of that, what do? You bring the devil.
Life, it seems to me, is a constant battlefield of good and evil within each of us. And that's what The Exorcist is about.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, by this sign of the Holy Cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien!
Amen.
The motif of Jaws is something less than a melody, something less than a tune, an effect. The music is the shark at that point. And the effect probably in this case is going to be provided by basses and cello, something very low, and getting into the visceral aspect of what we hear and feel.
What is special about Jaws is that it hits such a primal fear in everyone, and that's the unknown that's in water.
Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this.
When I previewed the picture in Dallas, Texas, the big screen in Jaws was when the shark comes out behind him, the audience goes crazy, popcorn goes flying, Roy Scheider jumps back like a springboard, and that was the big shock of the movie.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I got really greedy, and I thought, we need one more shock. Everybody said, what are you, nuts? We're gonna release this picture soon. I said, no, I want one more shock. And so I designed this sequence where Rick goes underwater to investigate Ben Gardner's ravaged boat. Once the tooth came out, the audience thinks, wow, that's a pretty big tooth. The trick was to get the audience interested in something before something else happens. I previewed the picture again after I shot that scene. Later on, when the shark came out of the water behind Roy, who was chumming, the scream it used to get only got half the intensity of the scream because I had made the audience distrust the film. And that was a real lesson to me. You can't fool the audience 5 times during a film. You got one good shot at him, and after that, you know, just be happy that they like your story.
Hold it up, he's coming straight for us. Don't screw it up now. Don't wait for me. Come on, Hooper, come on, hurry up, get it on. Kill it, Fritz. Kill it. Now. Shoot.
The audience didn't know and didn't care about what it took to make Jaws. All they cared was it was working for them.
He's coming up. He's not coming closer. Pull the man. Come on. We're breaking up. Cut it, man. It's all getting off. Cut it. The axe. Get the axe. Get it. Get it. Wait, hurry up. We're breaking up. We're breaking up. Cut it. Cut it. Watch your hands. Watch your hands. Come on, hold it. Cut it quick. I can't hold it. Cut it.
Mr. Hitchcock wanted the editing to give the feeling of like a serrated knife, you know, so that every time the knife went up and you saw a different angle of the body, you swore it went in. Anthony Perkins told me that our job is to create an image. If I created an image so powerful that the audiences won't let me get out of that image, then I did my job. And it makes me want to cry because he was so perfect.
I think I must have one of those faces you just can't help believing.
Is anyone at home?
No.
Oh, there's somebody sitting up in the window.
No, there isn't.
Oh, sure, go ahead, take a look.
Oh, that must be my mother. She's an invalid. It's practically like living alone.
Oh, I see.
Martin Balsam goes up the stairs. We know what's going to happen, but we know that he doesn't know, so that's very suspenseful.
Hitchcock, you look at the turning of the knob. That is far more frightening these days than so much special effects.
Once you know that that killing mother is in the house and anyone goes into that house, you're afraid for them.
My father's so damn special as a director because he made his movies for you. He didn't make them for the critics. He didn't make them for anybody else but you, the audience.
Mrs. Bates.
When the lights go up in the movie theater,
we often return from a place in our childhood where emotions are unchecked, dreams are real, and our imaginations are allowed to envelop us. In this way, the movies invite us to embrace our common humanity, our heart pounds, and we're reminded that we are alive. And where we find this simple truth most often is at the movies. Good night.